Welcome back, anime fans, to Ghost and Cloud, your anime podcast, where every week we talk about a different anime show or movie. And your hosts, as always, are John.
Hey.
And me, Bridget. And this week...
I'm sorry I did that.
Don't be sorry. It's fine. So this is episode 36, and we are covering Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Short answer is yes.
Yes, that's it. And we're done. And thank you for listening this week. So anyway, Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon is a Japanese light novel series written by Fujino Omori and is illustrated by Suhiho Yasuda, and it has received 2 manga adaptations as well as an anime television adaptation by JC Staff, which aired in April 4th to June 7th of 2015, and OVA was released on December 7th of 2016, and a second anime season and an original anime film adaptation were both announced this month, which I'm very excited about because I'll be honest, this is a little wishy-washy at first, but the ending kind of reeled me in, and I was really excited to hear that a second season and a movie were both guaranteed for the show, which is why we're talking about it. The story follows the exploits of Belle Cranel, a 14-year-old solo adventurer under the goddess Hestia. As the only member of the Hestia family, he works hard every day in the dungeon to make ends meet while seeking to improve himself, and he works up to Ise Waldenstein, a famous and powerful swordswoman who once saved his life, and he's unaware that several other girls, deities, and mortals alike develop affections towards him, most notably Hestia herself, as he also gains allies and improves himself with each new challenge he faces. So I want to know, I know we usually talk about what draws us to the anime. I actually watched this when it first came out. It was very advertised, I guess, on Crunchyroll and other media, and I watched it as it came out. It was only 13 episodes, so it was a quick watch, and I remember enjoying it. So it's just one of those like, hey, let's talk about this. So I want to know what your first impressions were, John, when you first watched it. There's a lot of chuckling, I remember.
This anime has a lot of potential, but it kind of ruins it with
the fan service.
Yeah, you could call it that, the fan service. They draw these characters with large breasts and just the way they act, it's kind of...
it's all Hestia. You want to blame Hestia.
I actually like Hestia as a character. I think her character is fine. I think the way they draw her is ridiculous. I think they play it up too much. Not that it's not funny, it's just like, okay, enough is enough. Like, give me actual story and plot. That's what I want to say.
I feel like the whole show was pretty much moving forward with the main plot. I feel like, especially since it was only 13 episodes long, it was always moving forward, and we learn a lot about the character, and he grows a lot in 13 episodes. So I think the plot was always moving, but I think it's just that she's so busty, and she's so underclad that it was just too ridiculous. But at the same time, I wanted to say, but it's a lighthearted show, and yet there's a lot of gore in the show. I feel like maybe the fan service balances it out a bit. Like, it's a nice balance of the two, so it makes it almost lighthearted, but still an adventure at the same time. I think that's why it's such a loved show. Like, I tried to explain it to a friend today at work, and they're like, it sounds like trash. And I'm like, but it sounds like it's fun trash. It's like exciting. It's like lovable trash. It's such a simple, very two-dimensional show. It's
Hashtag lovable trash.
Yeah, lovable trash. Yeah, that's what it is. But it's just, there's so many great, like, mind-blowing shows out there, and this one is just so flat and two-dimensional compared to it. But it's really enjoyable. It really is. It's short and sweet.
It's just another one of those boy has a purpose and adventure sort of animes. Like, it doesn't in any way particularly stand out to me. I do like that it pulls from Greek mythology and stuff. I don't know. Outside of that, I don't... This show doesn't do much for me.
I honestly think that if it wasn't for the very ending, I would have been happy with it just the way it was. I wouldn't have expected or wanted any more from the show. I feel like as a huge fan of RPG games, I really did enjoy it just for the fact that it really had the sense that you were in an MMORPG.
Don't get me wrong. I love that. I thought it was fun sort of twist on the style, because you have animes like Sword Art Online where they're actually in a game, and they can't do the things they can do in the game in real life, but this is, as far as we know, this is meant to be real life. It's different in that regard, because you would never think, oh, I leveled up today.
Yeah. Like they talk about leveling up like a raise in your social status and how you finally get that last push to level up by accomplishing a great achievement in an adventure. And it's a different, like you said, it's a different take on that overplayed that overtaped genre now of video games. I feel like SEO and dot hack kind of started for us, but it was like a more lighthearted and just a more realistic take on it. I have to
admit that this show kind of left me wanting more, even though I enjoyed it, but like didn't enjoy it. I think this might be one of the instances, well, I shouldn't say one of the instances. This is an instance where the manga or the light novel is probably significantly better than the show. Granted, the show's only 13 episodes. They have to cram things in. Kind of got to get a feel for the characters. I like the design of the characters. I thought the design, I mean, granted, not the large-chested characters, but like the way they do the armor, the way they draw just sort of the town and the dungeon. I thought that was really interesting.
I feel like the show is almost just an introduction to the show itself, because we're really just finally getting a grasp of the potential of this character. The fact that he has this special skill that allows him to level quickly as long as he has feeling for...
I think it's more of as long as he has a goal in...
No, the skill set, as long as he has those feelings. So I guess the feelings arguably could be for the girl, or it could be for wanting to be a hero.
See, I also was confused by their potential love interests. So you have Belle and Hestia, and Hestia is clearly into him.
Oh yeah, like she's head over heels for him.
He's totally... Like I
think he's oblivious.
He's oblivious to a degree, but like he knows how she is and like he's attracted to it. But there's something about the character Ice Wallenstein. He puts her up on a pedestal. Here is something that I want to achieve one day. I want to get to this level because this woman is incredible. She's referred to as the Sword Princess, you know?
Yeah.
I think they kind of don't know what they want to do with that love story. I think it's more of him admiring the character than him actually being in love with the character.
I don't know. I think he really loves her. I think that, I mean, he's clearly a virgin. And
he's 14.
Yeah, he's only, you know what? It's crazy to think about.
Clearly a virgin
at
14.
He is only 14 years old with what he is going through.
Well, he's an orphan.
You think he's more like 15, 16, like getting close to like adulthood.
Well, you know what? It's based on the world. So
especially
the way the
with
world
the women
is
around
designed,
him, like throwing themselves at him, like they're more mature.
It makes sense with the way the world's designed. So you have these goddesses who create these familias. Based on the way the world is built, it makes sense to a degree how things sort of pan out. Belle, in his case, he's an orphan who couldn't find a familia that would take him in. And here comes Hestia, a goddess that accepts him for him and has a little thing for him as well.
I mean,
but
how about
he's
that?
Super appreciative, and like he would protect her, I think, over anyone else.
I mean, like the way they reunited, or they united in the beginning, they kind of show you a throwback. That was really nice. You see Belle just starting out. He decided he wants to be a hero because he wants to protect people that can't protect themselves, like his grandfather who couldn't protect himself. He decides, I want to be a hero. This is something that, you know, my grandfather kind of talked about heroism, and it kind of instilled that ideology in me. So he wanted to start out, but where do you start when you're like level 0 pretty much? No familiar would take him in. And then he runs into Hestia, and Hestia herself is really just starting out as a goddess. She doesn't have a familia yet.
I don't know if she's starting out as a goddess, but...
No, she's starting out as like on Earth. So apparently you have to descend from the heavens, and that's where you can't use your divine power unless you have like a familia, and you have to like work through a network. There's like rules, it seems like there's a lot of rules.
There are strange rules to this world that they don't quite explain.
Yeah, they don't like go into them, but you know that they have to, when they descend from the heavens, they can't just go willy-nilly with their powers. They have to go through like a chain of rules, and they have to start a familia, and then just, I guess, through building that network in your familia, you are able to use more power. So she hasn't started familia yet, so she's also starting at 0, and the two of them meet each other, and she accepts him as he is, takes him in, and they put their trust in each other. It's just really nice that they're able to support each other that way. Really, like how far he's grown. He went from nothing to becoming like really like the biggest talk of his generation because he achieved something that no one else has. He reaches level 2 in a month and a half. half. And even the Sword Princess took over a year. But that's really just because of his skill. The skill that he has, it doesn't even know he has because Hestia didn't tell him, is that he, as long as he has these feelings, he will level quickly. He will get extra experience. Bonus experience, which is so funny to think about. They have stats and they get experience and levels and all these things that really are just, you think about only in a video game, and they have them tattooed on their back.
Minus all the sexual innuendos and the boobs in the face and stuff like that, I would think it's more towards a younger crowd. But then you add that stuff in. I don't know if I would show this to like a younger kid just because of how it is. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's every episode almost that like something like this happens.
I feel like these are for millennials because
guess, yeah,
millennials
everyone starts earlier and earlier these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't want to show this to someone too young just because they go overboard with the fan service, but there's really nothing wrong with fan service, like
whatever sells a show, I guess.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's just part of the attraction to the show. It's like there's really nothing wrong with it. I'm just glad that's not the only thing going for it. It has a plot, it has something, it has a lot of Greek mythology in it, which we'll get to in a minute. Because of the fan service, I wouldn't want to show people too young, but I think maybe like late teens and older, I think anyone would find the show interesting just because it is based on people's affinity for MMORPGs, like me, myself. I'm just like, oh my God, that's just like my games that I play, like reaching a level. And it's crazy because usually like hitting level 1 and 2 and 3, it's just hitting the low levels is just so quick. Whereas in this show, they say that hitting level 2 is a big deal, where it's usually like level 50 or so, So they have it broken down a little differently. But level 2 to them is a really big deal, and that's when it starts to become famous. It really becomes a talk because of how quickly he achieves level 2, but then that's when they start to change up. They say the dungeons are broken up differently in the mid-level, so really like level 2 to them is like level 50 in like games that usually most people play. Like it's just, I don't know, I feel like RPGs are really big, they're a really popular game, and then you have a lot of light humor and just like the sexual innuendos. You have like a love triangle going on, and then you have the great action.
You have a love triangle.
You do because you have Belle looking at. You have Belle looking at the Sword Princess, and you have Hestia looking at Belle. So that's the classic triangle. And then on top of that, you have great action scenes. You look at someone who starts down on his luck, and then really just through pure perseverance, he pushes through. And then, of course, also with the skill, he is able to level so quickly, and he tries so hard, and everyone around just like stares in awe and admires him, is jealous of him because of how quickly he's grown. And it's really just because he wants to become stronger, and he wants to be a hero.
All right, let's break down the main few characters real quick. So Belle is very typical in my opinion. He's very he's a common character in animes. He doesn't look exceptionally different from.
He looks like he's albino. He has red eyes and white hair. I don't think that's...
Maybe he is. Maybe he's an albino.
Right?
But he doesn't stand out, in my opinion, compared to like other characters of similar genres.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling like I've seen him before in another show.
I would say Kirito is
he's a white
cooler
haired
character.
Kirito.
The best thing about the thing that Belle has going for him most is his heart. He's a good, kind-hearted character. And despite being awkward and he kind of fumbles into things at times, like he's a good dude. And he'll do anything for the people that are there for him. He'll do anything for Hestia. He'll do anything for his comrades, Welf and Lily. Each of the characters are really different from one another. And that is plus to this. You get characters in shows, let's say for like Dragon Ball Z, for example. There's a lot of characters that are very similar to one another. Not maybe in look, but in ability, in plot for that character.
I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z.
I'm just using that as an example.
Which will be starting soon. But no, I mean, I understand what you're saying, that there are shows out there where it seems like, they're all kind of similar, but the characters are very well rounded, and even though it's such a short show, they do take the time to give you a little backstory into the main characters, so you understand where Welf comes from, and Lily and Hestia, and and really with each of these characters, Belle, if he was an average person with an average heart, he probably wouldn't really give them the time of day and really wouldn't trust them, but he just blindingly trusts them, and he really helps them grow as people. Really do, like I said, Like, I really have that feeling like, oh, I've seen this character in another show before, and I just can't quite place it. He's, he does have that familiarity because he's not quite original, but he is interesting to watch, in the show. But the show is, it's really, I feel like, just a combination of different shows kind of mushed together.
Because of the way, I guess, the world is affecting my current view of society, I am not too happy with the portrayal of Ice Wallenstein. She's kind of spacey. She doesn't have a complete idea of what's happening all the time. Somewhat like Belle.
I also think
like she's a really powerful character, but they don't really do anything with her.
I don't know. I feel like maybe they just don't want to lose the focus of the main character. I feel like romantically she seems out there and spacey. Like, she's not, I don't think she's aware that Belle is like in love with her.
I'm
that he's
still convinced that he may not be, but okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. All right. So he's like bending over backwards to reach her level just because, he might
I think
not.
he admires her.
Because he might like her.
I think he admires her, and he's just like, this is a hero.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be a hero.
So anyway, so he's busting his butt to reach the level of Ice Wallenstein because he believes, and he's heard from other people talking, she could not possibly be with someone that's not as strong as her because, and as all the women around Belle keep telling him, that a woman does not want to be with a man that can't protect her. So he's living with this ideology that
ideology either.
But that's what he's being told it's very sexist.
Yeah, it is.
But that's what he's being told in the show, and that's the reason why he never gets the courage to tell her, or he thinks he doesn't have the right to tell her that he loves her, or he has feelings for her. So he believes that I can tell her once I become strong enough to stand beside her. So that's really what his driving force is. This entire show is his feelings for this character. So
agree to disagree.
She seems kind of spacey, but I think she's just very quiet and introverted. And when it comes to romance, she does seem very naive to the fact that Belle has feelings for her. But otherwise, she's sharp. I mean, she is like the strongest fighter out there. Her reflexes, her fighting ability is above everyone else. So she's got something going for her. She's definitely sharp-minded. When it comes to romance, she has no idea what's going on. But we really don't know much about her because it's really all about Belle, and we don't get a backstory on this character at all. All we know is like what familiar she's in. She's in this big familiar where they do a lot of raids. If you're a high level in an RPG, you know what that's all about. And really that's it. She's really powerful, and Belle wants to be strong just like her.
They do give a good amount of background on Hestia, Lily, and a little bit on Welf. I like Lily's backstory.
Yeah,
she comes from like an abusive familia, and she is just trying to work her way out of it. But by doing so, she is committing these little terrible acts against people who are trying to help her. Ultimately, she changes her ways, but I think she's a cool supporting character.
I think she's a good person, but just out of desperation, she subjects herself to being a thief, and Belle kind of sees through it and sees that she's a good person, gives her a chance, and they develop a really good bond, a good friendship, and because she allowed herself to finally trust Belle, she was able to kind of get out of her rut. So, it was really, that was a nice development. They really do have good characters. They have a nice diversity of characters in the show.
Welf is an interesting character too. He comes from a blacksmith familia. He just disowns. He doesn't want to be part of anymore because he doesn't like the ideology these adventurers have when they come to him to ask him for weapons, because he builds weapons and armor. He's a character who has a lot of pride and someone who understands the bigger meaning of being an adventurer, and he's a perfect fit for Belle's team. I want to see the characters development more than necessarily.
I think there was a lot of main character development, because if you think about it, but he grew so much, and you could see how he became so much stronger in such a short time. Yeah, that's great. And then you hear the last couple lines of the season, and you realize, wow, if you think about it, knowing now what I know from what the god Hermes said, he says something the last couple lines of the show that made me think, oh wow, considering this knowledge, I really didn't learn much about this character at all. There's so much more could have happened now knowing this information. So really, not a lot of main story plot has happened. And that's why I am glad that there is a season 2 coming up, because Hermes says at the end of the show that he was actually raised, his grandfather was actually Zeus. He says Zeus was his grandfather. He was raised, I don't think he's actually blood relation. He was just raised in a like adopted or just taken in by him.
I'm not really sure.
But they don't really go into specifics. Again, this is said over a course of a couple sentences. And we were led to believe that Zeus has asked Hermes to watch over Belle and Belle's progress. I mean, that's a lot to take in from a couple sentences, but that what we find out the very end of the show. So when I heard that, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, really?
I guess it is somewhat sexist, but it more objectifies the female characters. Yeah. Despite the female characters being some of the badass characters throughout the show. Like, you have the elf girl who works at the tavern.
Yeah.
Leon,
she's half elf.
Her name is.
Yeah.
And she is a badass. Like, she's an adventurer who
she's the second
has
strongest
this
character.
Crazy backstory of how she no longer adventures because one day her team was like wiped out by an opposing
that entire
familia. And it goes into her story, and I think she's a really cool, really badass character. Mm-hmm. And on top of a lot of these other female characters. I mean, even Hestia is kind of badass in her own way. She's like, she goes above and beyond to help Belle in any situation.
Yeah.
Like, she genuinely wants to
see all the strongest characters in the show are all female, and yet all the females are extremely objectified, especially with the whole hot spring scene where they're all naked, and Hermes tries to lure Belle in
Hestia
there to
even
spy on them.
Makes fun of one of the other goddesses for being flat-chested. Like,
it's kind of weird, but it's kind of balanced in a way, because even though the strongest characters are these strong female characters, they still objectify women at the same time. It's just all over the place.
I was thinking it'd be cool if Belle was or would become Achilles eventually, since he's
you said that would be really cool.
Related to Zeus in a degree.
Yeah,
I think it'd be cool. Belle Cornell is his actual name.
Yeah,
and then Hercules is his like legend name.
Right.
He builds up because people start talking about this guy.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
I would love for them to
nice
develop more or dive into more of the mythology part. Yeah. I think that is really a fun additive to the show.
That would be really cool. And for those who are not familiar with Greek mythology, the gods and goddesses the main characters at least that are mentioned, Hestia is the actual virgin goddess of earth architecture and the right ordering of domesticy, the family and home and the estate. So she's like the homebody, basically. And then we have Loki, which Loki, for any Marvel fans, is already familiar with, the goddess mischief.
Well, in this
case, and in Marvel case, is a god of mischief. And then we have Freya, and Freya is the goddess of beauty, and she is the big bad in the background. Yeah, we really don't know anything about her.
Being played out as
she's the one that's kind of like trying to pull strings, watching Belle, and it kind of.
They even mention at one point where she seduces men and women like all over, and she just has her sights on Belle.
Yeah, she said it was just a happenstance that he happened to run by, and she saw something that just stood out from the crowd. The white hair, the red eyes, which is different, and then she had her sights on him. And I was like, okay, but we don't know who you are or what you want. But every once in a while she tries to go wah ha ha in the background. But we still don't know who you are, and that's why we don't care too much. But I'm sure maybe she'll play a bigger role.
I think a show like this could actually benefit from a longer season.
Yeah, we're always like, oh, the show is too long, but this one I feel like was too short. Like supposedly was supposed to be like the big bad guy. We still don't know anything about. But yeah, she's supposed to be the goddess of beauty. And then we have Hermes, which at the end was the one who gave us that insight as to who raised him. And Hermes is the messenger of God, which is very appropriate. So he is the one who kind of gives that tidbit at the end of the show. Because of that little ad at the end, I would love to see more of the show, because I'd like to see where they take it. If maybe he is actually blood related somehow to Zeus, or if he was just adopted. Either way, I'd love to see how the character grows and how like his ties with Zeus would kind of fit together, and what would he do if he found out that his grandfather was Zeus and that he was still alive. That would be really interesting. I mean, I'd love to see Hestia, now that the only person in her familia has grown so much. I'd love to see like maybe she would get more support too.
Well, as the show goes, Lily definitely is part of the familia towards the latter half of the show.
For only 13 episodes, it is enjoyable, even though, like I said, it's like enjoyable
trash.
The
execution of the show is not perfect, but it's enjoyable enough. You can definitely find this show on Crunchyroll.
John's gonna do the exit this week.
Yes, I am.
Because I stole his intro.
Bye. if you like our show, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us via email at gitcanime@gmail.com. You can get our episodes on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play. We're also on YouTube. Thank you very much. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a Patreon page. If you're really digging us, check it out. We got some cool things on there. Bridget is an artist. She can turn you into an anime character if you like.
Yeah.
You want a picture of you cosplaying as one of these characters? Let's make it happen. Just check us out. Check us out. But yeah, we want to know how we're doing, guys. So give us some feedback. We were very fortunate to get our first email not too long ago, which we were greatly appreciative of. We want you guys to be involved. We want to know what you think of the shows, what we can do to make the show better. With that said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Anthony for our theme song, which we love. And thank you to our current patrons for being a part of the family.
See you next week, guys.
Yeah, see you next week.
Bye, guys. Meow.